I stood outside the nursery window, holding a gift bag with a soft blue ribbon, ready to meet my sister's newborn son for the first time. Before this story changes your mind, hit subscribe. White medium star. I never imagined that in the next 60 seconds, my whole marriage would fall apart in front of my eyes. Through the glass, I saw my husband. He was holding the baby close, and he leaned down and kissed the tiny forehead like a father would. Then I heard his voice, soft and proud, talking to my sister. "Our son will have my last name," he said. "Adeline only pays for our life." My name is Adeline. I did not scream. I did not cry out. I stood there, frozen, while the truth crashed over me like cold water. This is the story of how I found out my husband and my own sister had built a secret life behind my back, and how I stayed silent long enough to plan something they never saw coming. 3 years ago, I married a man named Marcus. He was charming, hardworking, and endlessly patient, or so I believed. I worked long hours as a financial consultant, the kind of job that pays well, but steals your evenings and weekends. Marcus stayed home more, saying he was building a small business from our house. I never questioned it. I trusted him completely. My younger sister, Claire, was the golden child of our family. Sweet smile, easy laugh. Always the one everyone worried about and protected. When she told us she was pregnant a year ago, I was thrilled. I helped her paint the nursery. I bought the crib. I even offered to cover her hospital bills because she said the baby's father wasn't in the picture. I believed her. Looking back now, there were small cracks I ignored. Marcus was always the one who drove Claire to her doctor's appointments, since I was too busy. He was the one who picked out the crib with her. He was the one who sat with her during long nights when she couldn't sleep. At the time, I thought he was just being a good brother-in-law. A good man, supporting a struggling single mother. I had no idea I was funding the very family that was replacing me. Small cracks before the storm. Looking back, there were signs. Marcus started keeping his phone face down on the table. He began taking calls in the garage, voice low, door shut. He said it was work stress. I believed that too. Claire started pulling away from me in small ways. She stopped answering some of my texts right away. She'd get quiet whenever I mentioned Marcus. I told myself she was just tired, hormonal, adjusting to being a new mom. The night before the baby was born, Marcus told me he had a work trip. He packed a bag and left. I didn't think twice. I sent Claire a message wishing her luck at the hospital, and I went to sleep alone in our big, quiet house. 2 days later, I got the text that the baby had arrived. A healthy boy. I cried tears of joy for my sister. I bought a gift, a soft blue blanket and a silver rattle, and I drove straight to the hospital after work, excited to hold my new nephew for the first time. I had no idea what I was about to walk into. I reached the maternity floor and found the right room. The door was slightly open, and through the glass panel beside it, I could see inside without being seen. There was Marcus, my husband, sitting on the hospital bed beside my sister, holding the newborn like he had done it 100 times before. He kissed the baby's forehead, gentle and familiar, the way a father kisses his own child. Then Claire looked up at him with tired, loving eyes and said, "He's perfect, just like you." And Marcus smiled and said the words that shattered me. "Our son will have my last name. Adeline only pays for our life." Adeline. Me. The wife who trusted him with everything. The sister who trusted her with everything. In that moment, every piece fell into place. The late-night calls. The hospital visits Marcus insisted on driving her to. The business trips that never had any paperwork. The distance Claire had been putting between us. It was never distance from fear or hormones. It was guilt. I did not walk in. I did not scream. I did not throw the gift bag at the glass, even though every part of me wanted to. I stood there in the hallway, my hand pressed against the cold wall, and I let myself feel the full weight of the betrayal for exactly 1 minute. Then I walked away. I remember every step back to the parking lot, my heels clicking against the tile floor, the automatic doors sliding open, the evening air hitting my face. I got into my car and sat there for a long time, gift bag still on the passenger seat, engine off. I did not call Marcus screaming. I did not text Claire demanding answers. I knew that the moment I let my anger show, they would have time to prepare a story, time to cover their tracks, time to turn me into the villain who didn't understand or jumped to conclusions. So instead, I sat in silence and I made a decision. I was not going to react. I was going to think, because here's something I learned a long time ago in my career. The people who win are not the ones who explode first. They're the ones who stay calm, gather the facts, and strike when the other side least expects it. My husband thought I would come home confused and heartbroken, easy to manipulate. My sister thought her secret was safe as long as I never walked through that hospital door. They were wrong. I had already seen everything I needed to see. Now it was time to prepare, gathering the truth. Over the next few days, I did not confront anyone. Instead, I became a quiet detective in my own life. I pulled up our joint bank statements I had access to but rarely checked closely because I trusted Marcus with our finances. What I found made my stomach turn. There were payments to a private apartment across town. One Marcus claimed was storage for his business. There were transfers to Claire, small amounts at first, then larger ones, labeled as gifts or loans. I called a lawyer friend, someone outside our social circle, and I asked her, calmly, what my rights were if I discovered my husband had been financially supporting a secret family using money from our shared accounts. She told me something I will never forget. If you can prove intent and financial betrayal, the truth becomes your greatest weapon. Just don't let emotion make you move too soon. So I waited. I smiled at dinner. I asked Marcus how his trip went. I let him lie to my face, and I wrote down every lie, every excuse, every date that did not add up. I visited Claire once, bringing the gift I never delivered at the hospital. I held my nephew in my arms, and even though my heart was breaking, I studied his tiny face for a long moment. None of this was his fault. He was innocent in all of it. I smiled at my sister and said nothing about what I knew. She had no idea the countdown had already begun. I am not someone who believes in loud revenge. Screaming matches fade. Broken dishes get swept up. What lasts is the truth, delivered at the right moment, in front of the right people. I began building my case like I would build a financial report for a client. Cold, organized, undeniable. First, I secured copies of every bank statement showing money moving from our joint account into that private apartment and into Claire's account. Second, I quietly reached out to the property manager of that apartment, posing as someone interested in a similar unit, and confirmed the lease was under Marcus's name, signed 8 months earlier, long before Claire's baby was even born. Third, and most importantly, I contacted a genetic testing service. I remembered Claire once mentioning, in an unguarded moment, that she wanted to be extra careful with paperwork for the baby's birth certificate. That comment used to seem strange. Now it made perfect sense. I arranged, quietly and legally, for a paternity test to be requested through the right channels, using information Marcus himself had unknowingly confirmed. While I built my case, I kept my home life calm. I let Marcus believe I suspected nothing. I hosted a small family dinner and invited both him and Claire, along with our parents, telling everyone it was time we all reconnected as a family after the baby's birth. They agreed. They had no idea they were walking into the moment their secret would finally see the light. The night of the dinner, our dining room looked warm and inviting. Soft lighting, a home-cooked meal, family photos on the wall, including our wedding photo, which Marcus still hadn't taken down even now. Everyone arrived. My parents, smiling and proud grandparents. Claire, holding the baby, looking nervous but trying to act normal. Marcus, sitting beside me, playing the role of the loving husband. We ate. We talked. And when dessert was served, I stood up and said I had something to share with the family. I placed a folder on the table. Inside were the bank statements, the lease agreement with Marcus's signature, and the paternity test results confirming what I already knew in my heart the moment I saw him kiss that tiny forehead through the hospital glass. The room went silent. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's face turned pale with disbelief. Claire's eyes filled with tears, the baby now trembling slightly in her shaking arms. I did not scream. I did not throw anything. I looked directly at Marcus and said calmly, "You told my sister that I only pay for your life. You were right. So, starting tonight, I stopped paying for it completely." Marcus tried to speak, stumbling over excuses about love and mistakes, and not meaning for it to happen. I raised my hand, and he stopped. "I'm not here for an explanation," I said. "I'm here to let everyone at this table know the truth, so no one is confused about what happens next." What happened next unfolded exactly as I had planned, calm and controlled. I filed for divorce the very next morning, using the financial records I had already gathered as clear evidence of hidden accounts and secret spending. Because the apartment and the extra payments to Claire had come from money I had earned and largely controlled, the settlement favored me far more than Marcus ever expected. He lost the house. He lost the comfortable life he had built using my income while secretly building another family on the side. He moved into that small apartment he thought was hidden from me, only now he had to pay for it entirely on his own, with no one secretly funding it in the background. Claire and I did not speak for a long time. The betrayal from her cut in a different, deeper way because she was my sister, someone I had protected and supported my whole life. Eventually, months later, she reached out with a long, honest letter, admitting how much shame she carried, how the affair had started slowly and spiraled before she knew how to stop it. I did not forgive her right away. Some wounds need time, not rushed apologies. But I made peace with one thing clearly. Her son, my nephew, was innocent in all of this. I chose, slowly and carefully, to remain a small, distant presence in his life, not for Marcus, not even fully for Claire, but because a child should never carry the weight of his parents' mistakes. As for Marcus, the last I heard, he was struggling to rebuild financially and emotionally, discovering how difficult life becomes when the person quietly holding everything together is no longer there. Looking back now, I often think about that moment standing outside the hospital window, watching my husband kiss a child that was not supposed to be his to claim, hearing him dismiss me as nothing more than someone who pays for their life. In that instant, I could have screamed. I could have burst through that door and let my anger destroy the moment right there in the hospital hallway. Instead, I chose silence, not out of weakness, but out of strength. I chose to gather the truth before I ever spoke a word. That decision changed everything. It gave me the power to walk away from that marriage with my dignity intact and my future protected, instead of walking away broken and empty-handed. If there is one lesson I would want anyone watching this to take with them, it is this. When someone betrays you, your first instinct might be to explode, to demand answers right away, to let your pain control your actions. But sometimes, the strongest response is silence. Not silence that hides weakness, but silence that hides preparation. Truth does not need to be shouted to be powerful. Sometimes, it simply needs to be revealed, calmly, clearly, and completely, at exactly the right moment. I walked out of that hospital that day with a broken heart, but I walked back into my life, months later, as someone stronger, wiser, and finally free from people who never valued what I truly gave them. And that, in the end, was the greatest gift I ever gave myself.